often we think that, theories can give people everything that they need to become great leaders. But the reality is that, creativity and leadership, it's actually a very emotional education. It's an emotional form of education, and it's about helping people to get in touch with their purpose, who they are, and to be able to act. The Balinese were very it's a group of people that are very renowned for the creative, for doing creative arts, that are very, very adept at things like wood carving. You would have certain villages that, whole villages that all know how to carve, and they know how to carve from imagination. Ladies that would do, songket making. These songkets are these traditional fabrics, and they take a long time to weave because they have these very, very complicated designs. And I guess what compelled me about this particular culture is, in a world where everything is about efficiency and getting things done fast, I was very curious about, what compels this particular group of people to want to take their time to do really good quality work, to really spend time on all these details, whether it be painting or the subtle details that you find in music or dance. What is it about this particular culture that causes that inspires the people to be, so accomplished, so observant, and so aware, so attuned to these small details? So that's what drew me into this particular culture. My study was on the moral imagination of Balinese leaders. And this was what I was trying to understand in my particular study was, in a time when mass tourism, is playing a very important role in Bali. On one hand, it's introducing the world to Balinese culture, but at the same time, it's changing the Balinese. A lot of the consumerist values are entering into the culture, and people are starting to forget who they are, and the environment is becoming more and more overdeveloped. What are leaders doing in this particular in this particular island to protect and preserve their culture as well as their environment? And so I interviewed people who started museums, artists, dancers, a lady who wanted to protect and preserve traditional Lagong dance. I interviewed politicians, royal family members. Who else have I? Organic cultures, people who have started their own NGOs, leaders of minority, I don't want to say, of communities of marginalized, disadvantaged individuals, such as persons with disabilities, the community of rural women. I've interviewed leaders of these particular communities as well to try to get at and understand what is it about their leadership that they do to exercise, the importance of moral imagination, or this sort of emotional creativity, if you will, in their line of work. So that was my focus between the years of 2014 and 2015. I was very focused on that sort of work. And then over the time that I was there, I did fall in love with the culture, and I met my business partner, Weera, and Weera was very interested in the migration of youth. He was interested in the youth, leaving the rural areas and moving into the urban touristy areas to work in hotels and restaurants. And of course, the reason why they do that is that they want easy money. It's a lot easier to prepare food and serve food to visitors than it is to, of course, grow your own food. And so a lot of rural farmers moved to the urban areas, and it created a situation where there wasn't enough people to do the farming, to do things like pick the rice and climb the coconut trees. And so it created certain challenges in rural areas. And as a result, many people, abandoning their villages, certain families, started to consider the idea of selling traditional family-owned land to foreign investors. And when you do things like that, it causes property taxes to rise, and it's also very hard to get your land back once you sell it. And if one family were to sell it, and the property taxes goes up, it encourages other families to do the same, and it creates this vicious cycle that leads to overdevelopment. And so we started an organization that was aimed at helping young people to, as well as communities, to create new opportunities so that they could protect their culture as well as their environment. And so that is the type of work that I am here now. So if I were to kind of just summarize everything that I've done up to now, and what is my personal purpose in life, I would summarize it in 7 words. It would be love, courage, passion, leadership, creativity, and social innovation. So, love has to do with our connection to each other and our connection to the universe, our connection to the whole. And it's only through our connection to the whole that our creativity means anything. Passion is our connection to our spirit, our purpose, what we're here to do on this earth. And of course, you have to have the courage to act on what your purpose is. Leadership, what I've studied, is about mobilizing others. So in a sense, it's kind of like multiplying the love and the courage and the passion. Creativity, as I see it, in the world of social innovation, is about seeing this and that. It's not a this or that type of world. It's looking for the triple bottom line, people, planet, and profit, for example. It's about, the model that our organization has created, teaching young people not just to appreciate and use economic resources. Yes, getting a job is most important, but what you are leaving behind is your social community resources. You're leaving behind, for example, the community that works together to share water so that everybody can grow rice. You're leaving behind your environmental, that's the third one, your environmental resources, your banana trees, your rice fields, the fact that you have a home. In many places, if you don't work, you're out on the street. The fact that you are born into a home on your land is a tremendous privilege that you're not appreciating. You're also not appreciating the number 4, the education, that goes with you wherever you go, and also your culture, number 5, which is, you have thousands of years of indigenous wisdom that has been transmitted from generation to generation and perfected over the course of time. So, creativity is about using all of your assets. And then social innovation is what I believe is change, but you're changing in such a way that in order to preserve yourself, in order to preserve your culture, your environment, it's changing to remain the same. So the dancer that I interviewed, she's actually a very world famous Lagong dancer. I think she is probably like the oldest woman that does the King Lossum dance, which is it's a famous bird dance. It's about a bird that warns the king, not to marry this woman, but the king doesn't listen, and then and then when the bird tries to warn him, he kills the bird. And it's a very beautiful dance. She's like the oldest person to do this dance, and she says she was always the bird in this particular dance. But she said that it's like when one of the things that you have to do as a Balinese is you go to a temple and you pray, and there are different shrines that you pray to. You can pray for different things, and there's a shrine that's called taksu. So taksu is like it's like everybody has a knack. So for this woman, it was her ability to dance. So like if you were to have a performance where you played an instrument or you dance, you would go to the taksu shrine and you would pray. And it's like you would pray for the gods to enter you so that you could have a really good performance. So it's almost a way to connect with God. It's a way to understand and know God. It's also a way to understand, and mimic the complexity of nature. It's also a way to connect with your family. Your father or your grandfather may have done, dance or wood carving, and it's a way to connect back to your heritage. And so I think it's about having some sort of inspirational moment that is very important to this particular culture, that's very reflective and very spiritual minded. Now going back to your question, do I think it is possible to blend like a more capitalist way of thinking, or a more westernized way of thinking, or a more industrial way of thinking with for example, I interviewed a person by the name of Agung Rai, who started the Agung Rai Museum of Art. And he was somebody who had a love for art. And he, in his early years, he peddled art and he sold art. And then later he amassed enough money to buy land to create a very beautiful museum to protect and preserve the culture. Other individuals, I've interviewed people like hotel managers. It's almost necessary. You have to work with the system. We are in a very capitalist world. You have to be able to use that, but to use it in such a way that you can protect and preserve your culture. From what I understand about the Hindu worldview, though, is that it's like you are part of the whole. So there is that essence of God or the universe that's also in you. And so you are like they believe in the macrocosm, but the human being is the microcosm. And basically whatever, you're just like you're like a mini sort of universe. So, your ability to connect to the whole is also your ability to connect to yourself as well. So that would be the one difference that I do see. And from what I understand, because one of my colleagues is actually he's a very famous scholar of Bali, and what he said was that it wasn't because Bali wasn't really connected. Like there wasn't a lot of necessarily interaction going on between Bali and India, and so it somehow made its way into Bali through trade routes and a lot of other things. But there was no direct contact between the Balinese and India, and so. So they were able to take some of these ideas and through art and through creativity and through their own moral imagination to create the religion that they have been practicing for over 1,000 years.